This is my wife's 1998 Land Rover Freelander 1, and in the last video we removed the cylinder head due to a suspected head gasket. We left the engine out of time because the crank pulley bolt wouldn't come undone, and we've managed to get some progress on it, so I'll run through the progress. But first, we've had a slight casualty in one of the spanners has snapped. That was undoing one of the bolts that hold the cam belt in place. So let's crack on and take a look at where we've got to. First thing you'll notice is the engine is now fully timed up. Cylinder 1 at top dead centre. And if I can get in, you can just see the drill bit locked into the flywheel. I'm not convinced that this engine was timed up, but we've now got the crank pulley bolt off. That was incredibly tight. Crank pulley's out. On the other little update, when trying to undo the crank pulley bolt, one of the things I noticed was this little pin here completely snapped, and this pin is used in the cam pulley. So you see where the notch is. The cam pulley sits on the end of the camshaft, and that pin sits in that hole there. So I'm going to have to order a new one of those pins, but at least we've got the pin out and I don't need a whole new camshaft. Progress at least. So it's been a few days since I've done anything on this car, but I've finally had a box of parts turn up, so let's have a quick look at what's in there. So in here we've got a timing belt kit, head gasket, head bolts, we've got camshaft oil seal, the sprocket that was chewed, new aux belt, new tensioners, drive belt for fuel pump, most importantly this little roll pin that had snapped, and a washer and an oil filter so we can do those at the same time. Let's get cracking. Before we get cracking with the new parts, we've still got a few old bits to get off. There's this plate here that blocks the timing belt going on, and we've got the pulleys. You can just see one down there that needs to come off, and then we can free up this side and start cleaning everything up. It's taken a bit of work, but I think we're now at a point where we can start putting things back on the car rather than taking things off. So let's have a quick run through. But before we do, we have the main tensioner pulley, which is as stiff as anything and barely turning. We have the idler pulley, which makes a hell of a racket. So it's a good job they were getting replaced as part of this. We've had camshaft seal, that's hard, rock hard. And these two bolts, they're on the plate that holds that the timing belt runs behind. These needed this to undo them. So as a result, I've had to take the engine mount out completely out. You shouldn't normally need to do that, but I've had to take it out in order to get the tools in like that. I've also given the faces of the head and the block a clean up so that they're ready for the new head gasket to go in. So let's give that a go and see how far we get. So before doing the head gasket, one of the things I've got to do is fit the cam pulleys. So I've got a new one of these because of the rounding off there. Cam pulleys come off, but the only timing mark on here is this part of the plastic housing here lines up with this line. So what I'm going to do, although it doesn't say to do it in the book, is get this lined up, timed up. I believe you can get a tool that you fit in place of the this cam cover, and it'll lock the cam, but I don't have that tool. So I'm going to get the cam timed up, mounted back on there, and then fit the whole lot in one go, hopefully. It's almost moment of truth time. Sprockets back on, lined up. I've also put this little piece of tape here just so that I can get an idea, because this is incredibly difficult to see when the head's back on and in the engine bay. So now it's time to get the head gasket on, head on, and then start timing the belts. The rain's starting. It's time for a quick update because we've had quite a bit of progress on this now. To start with, you can see the head's back on. Tape is lined up. There's still the belt to go on this end. I'm gonna make sure it's all timed up before I refit this end. The two new pulleys are on there, so we've got the new idler pulley, the new tensioner pulley. The next job is get the timing belt on, rotate the engine, check it all lines up still, and then we can get that side timed up, rotate the engine again, check it all times up, and then it's put the inlet and exhaust and turbo back on. Fingers crossed we're done. This job's certainly proving to be a complete pain. I've had to keep lowering and raising the engine just to get access to a few bolts here and there, but we are making progress, and with a bit of luck it will soon be back on the road. Oh, and I forgot, in the Victor Reigns head gasket kit, it does show you the torque sequence which was followed, and then you've got the nut, first stage, second stage, and then 290 degrees, so that's all been done. It's once again another cold day. First job today. Let's get the timing belt on, make sure everything works, stays timed up. Hopefully it'll fit. It should do. I counted the teeth. One thing I did realise was when I was talking about why I'm doing the head gasket, the main reason I gave was water coolant loss, or unexplained coolant loss, and cold cabin temperature. The other thing that I've noticed with this car is it's become incredibly difficult to start. It used to start without preheating, but now it takes 2 or 3 preheats and chugs and chugs and chugs into life. So that's the other reason for doing the head gasket on this. So let's get cracking, get the timing belt on, turn the engine over and make sure it's all still in time. We've got a result. Cam belt is now on. Engine has been rotated twice, so you do the crank twice because the camshaft only turns once on a 2-to-1 ratio. So the engine's turned over twice, locking pin down at the bottom is back in, and my little bit of tape that I put on the top is in a good place. And next we've got the diesel pump belt, which is on this side to get on, and the tensioner. So you can see we've got my little tape mark here is all lined up. I don't know how visible it will be. You can just see the drill bit sticking out there. So we're in a good place on that. Temporarily reattached pulley so that I can turn the engine over. You can see the new tensioner zone, and we're all good. Onto the diesel belt. More progress. We have new timing belt on, complete with the new pulley. Engine's been rotated twice again. Locking pin back in. The locking pin down there is back in. And my tape timing mark is lining up. So now we've got all this covering down here to put back on. There's a little bracket that retains the belt, that's got to go back onto. We've got quite a bit of progress now. Let's have a quick run through, going through what we've done. First thing you'll notice, both the timing chain belt covers are on. Lower pulley is on as well, tightened to some ridiculous torque, which has meant we can refit the engine mount so that I don't need to keep jacking up and down the engine. We've just put a new rocker cover gasket on and then refitted the rocker cover. Next on the job list is just reconnecting this diesel waste, the fly lead for the injector, reconnect the water outlet from the thermostat, refit the bracket, then it's inlet system on, and exhaust system on. I need to do the belt for the aux drive as well down here. I'm definitely getting somewhere with this now. We've got some major progress with this, so before I wrap up for today, I'm going to just quickly run through. We've got the aux belt fitted, that's all on. Big piece of news is the inlet manifold and exhaust manifold are both on, complete with a new manifold gasket. The turbo over here just needs wiring up or plumbing in, so there's the return feed and the oil feed on top. That one goes up there. Oh, there we go, one job done. Then we can get the inlet pipe work on, reconnect the battery and see if it'll start. All the diesel lines are now back on as well, and the fly lead's plugged in. I did also connect the glow plug connection down there. The top hose is on, the temperature sensor's plugged back in, so we are in a good place. Hopefully get this thing started soon. The weather's milder, the birds are singing, we're on the home stretch of this car, so let's get it finished. The main thing we've got to sort on this now is putting all of the intake back together, which includes finally putting the turbo back on properly, or plumbing in the turbo, all the intercooler hoses, all of the air induction hoses, reconnect the lower water pipe and refill it with water and then see if it'll start. Well, that was just ridiculous. It's just taken me 40 minutes just to put the turbo oil feed bolts in. They're tucked away underneath the turbo. But what I will say is I'm grateful I picked up these last week, little Halfords. They're ratchet spanners, but they have a 1 degree movement. They're not the professional range, they're just the normal range. But that made life a lot easier once I'd finally got those bolts in. 40 minutes to get 2 little 8mm bolts in. It's going to be one of them days. We're getting ready for the first start. We've now got turbos fully plumbed in, bottom hose is connected, some of the intercooler pipe work's back on. Let's have a quick look through. So you can see turbos all reconnected fully, exhaust flange, new crush washers as well on the oil feed, return feed's connected, lower boost hose is on, upper boost hose is on, just needs the clamps tightening. Like I say, the lower water hose is on. I've just got my pressure tester on, making sure that there's no leaks, which it seems to be holding pressure at the moment. So I'll get this tightened up, we'll go through vacuum fill again and then see if it'll start. Well, it held the pressure for 25-30 minutes, so I'm happy that everything's sealed on that front. I've connected up the vacuum filler, so just like when I was doing the thermostat, I'll vacuum fill this. Everything's on together. Once it's filled, we'll give it a go at starting. Right, coolant is now refilled, battery's reconnected, all the airbox is on because it's got the MAF sensor and I didn't want rough running and wondering what that was. Everything's reconnected. I've gone through pre-flight checklists about 12 times. There's only one thing left for it. Not gonna lie, I am nervous about this. Let's just give it's turning. Missed. Okay. That's not clever. Okay, further diagnostics. That wasn't the result I was hoping for, that's for sure. Right, have a look and see what we can find. Well, it's not exactly the end of the video that I wanted. I've had the timing covers off. Pain getting this side because it's no space. Had the timing covers off. Everything's still showing as timed up. I have just bled a load of air out of the diesel system, so I'm wondering if I've just got air in the diesel lines. Taken a load out of the fuel filter on this side, and I've just cracked off the feed on the injectors. Getting bubbles coming through now and a little bit of diesel. So, however, battery is giving up the ghost. So that's gone on charge now. So I've got to wait for that. Maybe it'll work with the bleeding. We'll see. I've just got to wait now for the battery to charge. I'm probably going to wrap up this video now because, apart from anything, I'm stuck and I need to go off, research, wait for the battery to charge. Hopefully, with a bit of luck, when that's done, this will be back up and running, and I will update either in the description or if I can get around to it, another video. But thank you for watching. If you've got any suggestions, please drop a comment on things to check. Have you done a head gasket on one of these? Is there something that glaringly obvious I may well have missed? But thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.